has been observed since 1900s. Great unrest and critical debate was occurring amongst women. Women's oppression and inequality was spurring women to become more vocal and active in campaigning for change. Then in 1908, 15,000 women marched through New York, demanding shorter hours, better pay and voting rights. The women's movement continued to grow nationally and then internationally. During the women's movement, a day, or what is now International Women's Day, was used as a campaign by women for peace. International Women's Day is now an official holiday in 27 countries, including Afghanistan, Cuba, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Russia, Uganda, Ukraine, and Zambia. And it's a public holiday for women only in China, Nepal, and Madagascar. The tradition across the different countries sees men honouring their mothers, wives, girlfriends, colleagues with flowers and small gifts. Because women's equality is not just a woman's problem to solve, it requires men's help too. In some countries, International Women's Day has the equivalent status of Mother's Day, where children give small presents to their mothers and grandmothers. And the International Women's Day colour purple is used to symbolise justice and dignity. Green is for faith or hope, and white for purity. All strong values associated with women's equality. The new millennium has witnessed a significant change and attitudinal shift in both women's and society's thoughts about women's equality. Many from a younger generation feel that all the battles have been won already for women, while many feminists from the 1970s know only too well the longevity and ingrained complexity. With more women in boardrooms, greater equality in legislative rights, and an increased critical mass of women's visibility as impressive role models in every aspect of life, one could think that women have gained true equality. The unfortunate fact is that women are still not paid equally to that of their male counterparts. Women still are not present in equal numbers in business or politics, and globally, women's education, health, and the violence against them is still worse than that of men. However, great improvements have been made. We do have female astronauts and prime ministers. Girls are welcomed into university. Women can work and have a family. Women have real choices. And so the tone and nature of International Women's Day has for the past few years moved from being a reminder about the negatives to a celebration of the positives. It acknowledges struggles, but it helps us to learn how we can play a part in creating a brighter future for women and girls. Annually, throughout the month of March, thousands of events are held throughout the world, giving us an opportunity to come together to inspire women and celebrate our achievements. A global web of rich and diverse local activity, such as our lunch today, connects women. So make a difference. Think globally and act locally is the message. Make every day International Women's Day. Do your bit to ensure that the future of girls is bright, equal, safe and rewarding. Women, no matter what their circumstances, can and do dream. Dreams are valid, no matter where we are from. The dream could be as simple as having other people acknowledging your plight in the hope that it may be different for those behind you. So this brings us to today's event's focus on dreaming big and making your passion your purpose. Our guest speaker today, Carolyn Khoo, is a dessert designer and founder of Nectar Stone, those beautiful chocolates on your tables. And Carolyn loves to create concept desserts that embody sophistication and femininity. Carolyn believes in supporting women in business, working hard, always learning and leading by example. So with the theme Dream Big, Make Your Passion Your Purpose, Carolyn has an inspiring story about how she turned her passion into a successful career. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Carolyn Khoo.
Thank you for attending this amazing event. Not only is this restaurant absolutely beautiful, it's such a beautiful setting, but being connected and surrounded by a whole host of women who have the same ideologies, beliefs and passion is something that's very empowering, just not only for me, but I think amongst each other on everyone's table. So I really appreciate you all making the effort and time to come and be a part of this. I wrote a 2,000-page essay I didn't really know how to start telling my story, so I wrote it all out, and then I had to condense it down to 900 words, which doesn't seem long enough to tell you about how I started my journey, but hopefully I can find some key points to inspire you and help make your passion into a purpose. I wanted to start my opening speech with asking a question. Has anyone seen the recent Seek TV campaign ad? Please raise your hands if you know what I'm on about. Anyone? Some people in the crowd do. Google it tonight. It's an amazing ad with an old man on TV, a senior man I should say, who starts to reverse in age. And it says to you, Seek says to you, a moment in your life you're going to pause, you're going to look back, and you're not going to look forward. And it's telling you to think about how you've spent time in your life. It brings up some really key points. 20 years we spend sleeping, doing nothing, just dreaming. 3 years we spend in the bathroom. 4 years we procrastinate, probably doing the dishes, visioning. 2 years we spend commuting. 15 years we spend with our precious family. And at the end, it leaves you with 13 years. What have you done with 13 years? Is it a lifetime of work, or is it something that you're truly passionate about and it doesn't feel long enough? Well, I can truly say that Seek hit me, and I can raise my hand and say, that's me. Because every day that I do what I do doesn't feel like work anymore. It's actually something that is a passion. It drives me. At times it consumes me, but it never feels like work. It doesn't feel long enough, and I don't know if in this lifetime for me it will feel long enough. And I think, that's something that really hit home with me. So I would encourage you to have a look at the TV ad, Google it, it'll come up straight away, because it will really hit home and help you to think about how you can better your time. I wanted to talk a bit about my background. Not a lot of people know, some of the background of how I started, and I think it's important to tell people a bit about the journey, because for me, Nectar Stone, it's a living and breathing brand, but it's also something that it lives within me, and everything about it is about me, and that's probably why I'm so passionate and I love it so much. So a brief, real quick on me is in 2004 I actually did a degree in politics. I graduated in international relations because I thought I was going to be the next politician, and I was determined to have my voice. But as time progressed, I learned that I was actually more creative, and I ended up in 2005 working in footwear, and then progressed later into fashion, and that's a key milestone for me. So what I'm trying to sort of explain here with background is, I think everyone's background is part of a formulation of who you become later in the future. And for me, there are some key milestones that I'll touch upon that you'll kind of go, oh yeah, that really makes sense with why Kaz is Kaz and why Nectar Stone is how it is today. So I ended up in fashion, and I travelled around Australia, and I worked for Olgaberg, and the business director and owner of Olgaberg was Mark Littman, and he was my coach mentor, and he taught me everything about the business, from the basics to the warehouse to accounts receivable to travelling around Australia, meeting the retailers, understanding trends, dealing with designers, visually doing merchandising. I learned everything, and I wanted to. I was like a sponge. I wanted to learn everything I could about the business, and that's just because I just genuinely interested in it. I never imagined I would do anything fashion related, but I liked immersing myself in that, and that heavily has influenced what Nectar Stone is today. Having three sisters who are all Bachelor of Science degrees and one's a doctor in America, I ended up changing my career for a period of time and ended up in medical devices. And that was because my sisters could see that my strength was in relating to people and learning and being able to talk about products. So I ended up spending a lot of my time in theatre. I travelled to New York and studied there with the company, and then came back and started a really rewarding career with them, until I had made a decision to have children, and that was in 2009. And being an American company, this company did not support or advocate for part-time work, which left me two choices. One, I go back and do full-time work with my child in care, or two, I stay home and see his milestones and see his journey. I decided to stay home. And this is, you know, something that I think is really unfair that the workforce doesn't encourage more part-time work, because I know, and I can vouch, and Kate can vouch for me as well, who's my marketing person over there, is that I will efficiently get 70 emails done in the evening and probably 30 emails during the day. Like, I think that women, mothers, are completely underestimated as to how efficient, organised and skillful they are in the industry. So, being at home, I wanted to have some challenges. Of course, being a mother is rewarding, and don't get me wrong, it has some beautiful things attached to it, but I also, as a person, needed to grow individually, and so I set myself what I call job skilling, and that's just a term that I've made up myself. I decided that whilst being at home, I was going to make this an opportunity for myself to learn some new skills, because, to be honest, I was so afraid of not having anything to show a prospective employer later on, because I'd been at home, and who knows how they would perceive being a mother at home was, but I was so afraid of that I wanted to have some skills that I could demonstrate, showed that I still, you know, was actively working on myself. So I call it job skilling, and I call it the 1 to 2 rule. The 1 to 2 rule means I would actively spend 1 hour in the morning working on a skill and 2 hours in the evening working on a skill. And it's as simple as that, disciplined, focused, spend my energy doing that, and it provided some balance to me and my family. When I talk about the 1 to 2 rule, I thought about the things that I wanted to focus on that would help give me some new skills. So Adobe Photoshop was one of them, learning how to build a website from scratch, putting in all the codes, building templates, designing graphics. And also learning how to use a camera, because I genuinely like taking photos. So a 1 to 2 rule was good for me because it allowed me to learn something new. It gave me a project, and at the end of it, if I decided to go back into the workforce, there was something physical there that I could demonstrate I had actively done. So this kind of leads me into now Nectar Stone, and how on earth did I come up with this idea, and where did it stem from? Because, you know, I wasn't really a baker. I'm actually self-taught, and there's no training. I don't watch YouTube. I don't do tutorials. I've never gone to a cake expo or a cake shop to learn things. Everything is just by my eye and just by trial and error. Nectar Stone wasn't planned or intended. Nick and I, we've been together for 15 years. We celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary just recently. And we're avid foodies. Culturally, I'm Greek and Nick's from Asia, and so we've got this beautiful fusion of, you know, cultures and traditions that allow us to explore food. It's always celebrated around food, and we enjoy that. So there's just a genuine interest around food. When I had my second son, Dimitri, in 2011, he was born with a short neck muscle known as torticollis, and so for 1 year, I focused my energy into rehabilitating and getting his neck back to normal, putting a lot of my energy into my baking, and there was a lot of detail and delicate details and styling that he hadn't seen before. And, you know, Nick being Nick, he was encouraging me to keep exploring that creativity and push myself to pursue it. So I decided to take the plunge and start Nectar Stone. And Nectar Stone are my favourite colours, peaches and greys. That's where that name sort of comes from. It also is a symbolism to me of fruit and of homewares, which is something that I'm obsessed with. Nectar Stone to me is a female. It's a living and breathing brand, and I constantly refer to as her. Essentially what Nectar Stone is a chocolate and dessert company, and it began operations in 2013. Our clients range from high corporate to weddings and celebration events. We have an online store that we cater to for Australia, including cookies and chocolates. And this year we'll be celebrating our first cakery in Richmond which will allow our clients and following to come in and celebrate everything sweet. But as I said, Nectar Stone is more than this. To me, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. It's innate and it's inside me. And I think it has a global presence and that people can relate to. She has a voice and always aims to lead by example and demonstrate good work ethics, which is what I truly believe in. I'm a perfectionist, so for me it's very hard to show part of myself unless I feel like it truly represents who I am. And Nick and my mum, who's here today as well, have always tried to encourage me to just put myself out there, to not be afraid of failure, to always be true to my signature style, to always persevere, and what I uphold the most is discipline. You can only make it if you're very disciplined. And this is where I talk about a time rule. So for me in Nectar Stone, I always have rules. And the time rule is I gave myself 1 year to start Nectar Stone, and if it wasn't successful, I would finish it up. I think a time rule is you have to give everything you've got. You can't do it short. You've got to invest yourself completely in it. Be happy that you don't have any regrets. If it's not working, you let it go and you go on to something else. And I would have been more than happy to let it go and move into a different career. So I think with business, you've got to be prepared to invest yourself. And identify a suitable time frame to make your visions work. This now leads me on to competitive advantage, and if you're an entrepreneur wanting to start a business, you have to think about what your competitive advantage is in the industry. And I actually didn't do this intentionally. For me, Nectar Stone is just about what I love and what colours I love and how I see things in angles and things like that. But I realised after writing this that probably my competitive advantage is my ability to be original and continue to reinvent. And I've always had a strong work ethic that if any client or potential client comes to me and says, can you please replicate the work of this dessert designer or a dessert baker, I turn around and I say, no, I don't replicate. I see that as a short-term gain and a long-term loss. For me, I stick to my style, that's true to who I am, and I'm not going to rip off someone else's hard work. This now leads me on to pillars. I think in business, it's very important that you have pillars. It's what keeps your business and brand integrity. And it sets the main direction for your business and underpins the message that you wish to convey and communicate to your audience and clients. So for me, I always say my pillars are creativity, innovation, originality, uniqueness, pushing boundaries, and have a key signature style. Pillars are important because they are a roadmap and a reminder of your purpose, and it keeps you in check and in line with how you operate and run your business. And part of Nectar Stone's success remains with remaining true and honest to my pillars, and that we are defined by them. As I said, it's the ability to reinvent and adapt. And this is really important because it demonstrates resilience, and that's really important when you're an entrepreneur, because there are a lot of imitators who try to shoulder off and take business ideas from you. And you need to know that, when that happens, how are you going to bounce back from it? Well, if you know that you're a creative person and that you're not afraid of coming up with the next idea, people come to you and they look at you as an example and a leader. And those people that are imitating and shouldering become smaller, and you just continue to get bigger. I think a very important lesson is understanding your market and target audience. When I started Nectar Stone, one of the first projects I did was I decided to put myself out there, and I was involved in a party sort of business. It was called Confetti Fair. It's where a whole host of stylists and event people, bakers, come under one umbrella and they showcase their work. And I thought, what better platform to do this than to actually put myself out there and start getting people's feedback, understanding who the audience is, and getting people to sample my work and give me some feedback. So my mum came along to this, and we made 700 desserts, I think. Just over 700. We literally fed the masses that day. We wanted people to come up to us, taste a fresh macaron, taste a fresh cupcake, get their feedback, teach them a little bit about what a fresh macaron is, why is it so different, start giving them some knowledge, showcasing how I style a table, and how different it is compared to what others were doing at that time. And you know, Confetti Fair was great. In my logo I've got a whisk, and I decided to bring in 1,000 whisks with my business card, and I gave them out to each person. I did all this for free, and I did it because I wanted to educate people about my brand, teach them that I'm passionate, not afraid to showcase my work, get their feedback, whether it's good or bad. That's important to me. And I think in business, understanding your market, doing the research is invaluable, and having the face-to-face contact is more meaningful and will give you a lot more than, you know, sitting behind the telephone, for instance. Alongside this, collaborations I think are really important, and this is about social networking and building your brand and learning what's right for you in your business. And I think that at this point, choose them wisely and don't be afraid to say no, because you'll get a lot of requests as you get bigger and bigger. A lot of people want to start collaborating with you. And for me personally, I've always had a strong principle of doing my collaborations with women in business. When I was in uni, I studied feminism, and for me, I think it's sort of a part of, again, who I am. It's one of those milestones of a realisation about, you know, how women have been treated in society and the challenges and struggles we've had to do, and what women in the past have done for us to open up all these opportunities. It's something that, you know, is really close to my heart. So I always make an active choice to support women in business. Miss Poppy Design is one of those people who early on I started my journey with, and have a complete respect for her and her business. So I think that that's important, that you choose to do collaborations, whether it's with individuals or businesses that have the same belief systems as you do. It also reflects the way your brand is and interests as well. One of the biggest components for Nectar Stone is product development, and don't underestimate this, because it's really crucial for your growth and your development. You really have to be willing to make sacrifices and understand that there may not be an immediate payoff. For example, I didn't have a haircut for 1 year. I didn't buy shoes. You know, the dress that I'm wearing is nothing new. I put every single cent that I had, everything that I got back from my business, from making cakes, back into the business. I didn't spend it because I wanted to further myself. I wanted to develop myself, and I thought it was best for the business. So getting new equipment was more important to me than having a lavish dinner with my husband. In saying this, you have to be willing to work for free. I can't tell you how many free jobs we have done to grow Nectar and Stone, because there will be a lot of bigger companies when they discover you, and funnily enough, they're not willing to invest in you, and you have to make that decision whether or not it's right to you. There have been countless hours where we have stayed up until 5 in the morning working for free, but it adds credibility to your brand. It puts you out there to a larger audience. So I say don't be afraid to take on, where you can, those opportunities, because they do actually pay off. In saying this, we've never cancelled any orders, ever. I work when I'm sick. I don't take a day off. I don't believe in that. My work ethic is to work hard, be disciplined and focused. I think truly that is what adds success to your business. I couldn't stand the thought of cancelling an order. I had another lady come to me who another baker had cancelled, and she begged for me to do it, which I was so over capacity I couldn't do, but I said to her, I'm willing to stay up to do that, because it just goes against every principle for me. And everybody is equal in my eyes. So there was a lot covered there. I just want to sort of now put them in dot points, just to reiterate what I was saying. Be willing to take some risks. Have a set time frame to achieve your goals. Be realistic that you need to invest in product development. Be willing to work for free at times. Remain true to your style, and learn about who complements your work. and help them to build and help build them as well. I suppose I need to touch upon a couple of things now. One of them is I have kids, 5 and 3, as I mentioned, and I've done this with 2 kids, and they are always a part of my life. They're everywhere I go. Kate and I have been in important meetings with my kids in tow. They are in my journey and I don't put them out of it. They're in my circle. If they're screaming on the phone, I don't care. The majority of the women that I'm speaking to completely understand. They've got kids as well and they'll tell me don't stress about it, Kaz. It's a part of life where women, like, who cares? People in the workforce should support and advocate for it more. I'm not afraid that my kids are running around here and there. That's how it is. That's how I've made it work, and it hasn't debilitated me in any shape or form. So I encourage you, if you've got kids, don't be afraid. I also want to talk about now Instagram. For me, it's my social media platform. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. Some of you might be familiar with Facebook. But how do you grow a successful brand? And for me, it was through Instagram. I'm a visual person, so taking photographs and telling my story has worked for me. And you might have a product that's suitable that might work for you. But whatever business you're in, I think you need to start thinking about what media outlet or advertising best suits your brand, fits with it, and how you grow it. And that's where I talk about, collaborations are important. For me, it's taking great photos, being consistent with how many times I do it a day, telling a story about what I'm doing, the journey. Like today I've posted a photo about being here. This is a journey, and then I'll feed slowly through the day images or things or experiences that tell a story that are always true to Nectar Stone. It's always in that same style. And people look at it and they get inspired by seeing the photos, they get inspired by reading the story, and so I think you just have to find that medium that works best for your business. So starting a successful business will involve a high degree of sacrifice, discipline, pressure, but you are rewarded with fulfillment of being your own boss, working your own hours, being accountable to yourself, and seeing something develop out of nothing. Being passionate about what you're doing, believing in yourself, a willingness to put yourself out there. You need to accept that the financial payback may not be immediate. I need to keep reiterating that because some people think the success is overnight, and it's not. It's working long hours and you've got to keep building it. You'll get rejected, keep persevering, stay disciplined, be true to who you are, always keep your style. It eventually gets to people and they start to understand it. Also setting yourself a time limit to your passion. Like I said, I would have walked away after 1 year. If Nectar Stone wasn't doing anything for me, I would have been happy to let it go, have no regrets. So have a realistic time of what you can do, whether it's full-time and you're adding some hours in the evening to start working on that passion, or if you're at home, a stay-home mum, and utilising some time here and there where you can around your kids. Most importantly, you need a backbone. Who's your backbone in your life? Mine? That's my mum right there. My husband Nick. My mum, I was talking about this with Kate in the car. My mum pushes me so hard. She reminds me that it's in there, that you can do it. Mum will be like, let's do Mimco's order tomorrow. We've got a dinner to do. Let's do it. Let's just get it out of the way so you don't have to worry about it tomorrow. It's like, I just want to go to bed tonight. I'm really tired. But she's amazing. She stays there. She says, no, let's just get it done. Then you can spend the rest of the day with your family. Find your backbone, whether it's just a strong network of women who are there to reinforce your passions, remind you about your struggles, but your achievements as well. Sorry, I'm a bit emotional, but it really hits home that there are people in your life that really support your dreams and they make it happen. And that's why I'm here today. That's why this is important. It's a reminder that we can do it. We can, encourage each other's dreams. We can support each other. We are a network. Use it to your advantage. Learn to collaborate, but learn that you are your own person. You can make your own decisions, and you can achieve. You can believe. You can dream. Thank you.